Perfect. I think we can start. But before we begin, a quick and important disclaimer. The information shared during this session is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing discussed today constitutes legal, immigration, or investment advice. While we will refer to best practices and real-world examples, every case is unique, and attendees should always verify requirements and consult appropriate professionals and designated organizations before making any decisions. By participating in this session, you acknowledge that GenesisLink and our speakers assume no liability for actions taken based on this discussion. Now, I welcome everyone again. I'm Mary Yazdani, your host for today's Startup Gateway webinar, proudly organized by GenesisLink, your trusted partner helping innovative founders and immigration professionals navigate their startup visa journey. Today's discussion is titled From Letter of Support to Landing, and we will explore what truly drives a credible, well-documented, and compliant SUV file, from evidence precision to due diligence and remote traction. A few quick notes before we start. This webinar is being recorded for educational purposes, and you will receive the recorded version at the end of the webinar. We will have 3 quick interactive polls, so please participate. Your feedback help us to tailor future sessions. You can post questions in the Q&A box anytime within the webinar. We will address as many as possible during the Q&A segment at the end of the discussion. And for those new to GenesisLink, we have helped hundreds of founders and consultants strengthen startup visa application through evidence-based business plans, structured documentation, and compliance support. Our Startup Gateway series bridges insights between designated organizations, consultants, and founders, helping everyone work from a single source of truth. Today, we will unpack practical ways to move confidently from LOS to landing with real-world example of what a strong documentation and due diligence look like in practice. It's my pleasure to welcome Michael Dearden, our guest speaker for today's session. Mike is a seasoned business development and policy leader with over 40 years of experience and over $40 million raised for Canadian startups. As partner at Roseview Global Incubator, he helps international entrepreneurs expand to North America through Canada's Startup Visa and C11 programs. Mike, thank you for joining us again. We are so thrilled to have you today with us.
Thank you very much, Mary. It's great to be with you.
Thank you. So we will go through the main discussion and start with the foundation and documentation quality. When IRCC or a designated organization reviews a file, what makes the evidence good? Like, what qualities separate a strong from weak submissions?
So there's a few things. First of all, there are submissions from the applicant themselves. So for example, we as a business incubator require that all of our applicants submit a full business plan, a full pitch deck. We want to see financials, which are sort of a snapshot in time of the team and all the members. We want to see CVs of all of the team members, detailed business experience CVs. We want to see language tests. We want to see any kind of indication of business traction that they have had, whether it's in Canada, and some of them actually have that, or in their own home country. So we want to see all of that documentation, which allows us then to make decisions about the applicant, but also allows us to prepare a commitment certificate, which is the document we submit, and the letter of support, which is the document they're interested in, to IRCC. And we spend a lot of time working on that commitment certificate. We do it. We don't ask our clients to do it. We don't ask their advisors to do it. We've been very successful in that. We've never had one rejected. So we're very proud about the standard that we have around the quality of information we put into that commitment certificate. So it's very important to get that first documentation to IRCC right in order to move the process forward.
Oh, perfect. Thank you so much. And that's great. As you have mentioned, I know that there are several designated organizations that usually ask the applicants, whether it's a startup team or the just immigration firm, to fill the letter of support and commitment certificate. But I think if it's coming from you, it means that you thoroughly review the whole documentation and put everything together, which is great. So based on your experience, what are the most common accuracy gaps you encounter? What are these, like, is it mismatched corporate records? Are they vague contracts or some traction claims?
Yeah, so I guess probably the biggest challenge, and frankly, what we're seeing, Mary, is we're seeing with the introduction of the cap, we're
Mhm.
seeing a higher bar for requirements for the companies to come into the program. So what we're looking at as a designated organization is companies that have traction, companies that have a product or service in the marketplace, be it their home marketplace or others, that is demonstrating there is an interest in it and that it is in fact solving a problem or a need for a business or individuals. So we want to see that sort of documentation, and if there are gaps in that documentation, that's a problem. Now, of course, if there are gaps in any of the other earlier documents I mentioned, that's a real problem. But
Mhm.
really, it's having complete information about all of the individuals or the business and the details as to what point the business is at. IRCC is changing the way it looks at documentation, seems to be changing its focus on some things, and we can talk about that later on. But those are also important things to keep in mind.
Okay, perfect. And if a consultant must prioritize 5 key documents before anything else, what are those ones based on your recommendation?
Well, as mentioned, obviously we need a full business plan.
Mm-hmm.
And we need, you know, in the age of AI, it's easy to crank out things, but we need to see a business plan. And frankly, my partners and I head our due diligence team here at Roseview, have seen hundreds of startup companies. One of the joys of being based in the Waterloo region of Canada and having been an angel investor for over a decade is that we've seen an awful lot of companies. So we can read a business plan pretty quickly and get a sense as to whether this is really real or whether it's just been created out of thin air. So that's absolutely fundamental document. Financial information is credibly important, not only to demonstrate that these people have the wherewithal to support themselves and their families, but also getting to market in a new business in a new country is extremely expensive. I always
Exactly.
tell our clients it takes twice as long and costs twice as much to bring a product to a new market. So you've got to have the financial resources on the team to be able to support you through those periods. So those are key things that we look for in terms of documentation, as well as that list that I gave you earlier.
That's perfect. Thank you so much. So now let's ask our just run a poll and ask our audience, where does your file need the most help? Is it corporate record or the financial client traction? Is it technical or IP or all of those options? We will wait 20 seconds for our audience to just vote, and at the end we will review the responses together. So what do you think? Let me, while we are waiting for others to vote, let me ask you that based on your experience, which of these options do you think clients need the most help and support, or they are weak at it? Even if they are good, like one of those documents are not as strong usually.
Yeah, I think it would be probably the two. The financials and client traction
Mhm.
are critical. That be well developed and thought out. There are lots of good innovative companies that come to us that don't have IP. As long as they can explain their technical, that's okay. And corporate records, well, again, because many of them are overseas, they're not incorporated in Canada. Maybe they haven't been together in a structured way. That's not such a great concern for us.
Yeah,
Those middle two, finance and client traction, are critical.
yeah. Okay, perfect. So let's review the result together. 27% corporate records, 7% financial, 13% client traction, 7% technical IP, and 47% all of the above. So that's just interesting, because also I was thinking based on our experience, financial and client traction is the one that they need. I agree with you. And that financial especially is not regarding their financial status, but also presenting that financial projection within Canada, or just, bringing all those expenses, or if they have traction, presenting those documents and proof of that traction somehow, I think is critical for them. Each country has their own things. They have a way not to pay the tax and all of those things. So they claim usually doesn't match with the papers that they have. And I found that this is somehow for them a struggle. They are struggling with how to show the real things that is happening.
Yeah.
So, what does best-in-class due diligence look like at a designated organization? You have mentioned that you are doing your own review and with couple of partners. Also, you are making sure that you are writing the best version of commitment certificate, and also that letter of support, and preparing that due diligence. So, can you explain to us that, what is that best due diligence look like at a designated organization?
Sure, and I guess we're all a little different, and that's fine, and that's good because customers or applicants need different kinds of designated organizations to go to. So, as a business incubator, and frankly, my partners and I, we come at this from the perspective of angel investors. Um, so we look at things maybe a little different than most business incubators. So what we do when we do our due diligence is, first of all, we request that applicants file with us through our website. They fill in an application that is our application, which we have developed because it captures a lot of essential information that often doesn't exist in business plans or other documents. We ask, as I mentioned previously, a business plan. We're expecting something in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 pages. Most of them are pretty sophisticated nowadays. And then we're looking for a full pitch deck. We're looking for financials on the company as well as on each of the individuals. We want to see what the shares were in terms of the ownership structure to make sure that it is in compliance with the requirements of the SUV program. We want to look at their English language tests scores. And we want to look at their full CVs. So we look at all those things before we really do anything. And we try to go through those things fairly quickly. Our team has become quite experienced and we can review them, pick out what we want. Following that, if we believe that it's appropriate, we set up a call, which I participate in and members of my due diligence team. It's an hour interview. We do only with the clients, not with their advisors. They are required to pitch us on their company. And then we ask them a series of questions, maybe ask for more information, and make a decision at that point whether they go on. If they go on in our due diligence process, they then get interviewed by the three partners who ask them and have them do the same pitch presentation and then ask them to provide answers to a whole bunch of very specific questions. One of my partners is an accountant, so he digs into the financials. One of my partners is a communications and branding expert and pitch coach, so she digs into that, and I kind of cover the rest. So we do pretty intense due diligence. We try to do it quickly because we appreciate that people want to have a response, but we do it fairly intensively. And in terms of how many we actually put through that process, probably 70% in the past of our applicants never made it to due diligence. That number is starting to change because we're getting fewer applications that aren't well prepared. And the better prepared an application is, both from a business and an immigration perspective, the more quickly we can do due diligence. And frankly, the greater the chance that it will be successful.
Mhm. And what are some of those red flags that when you are reviewing the documents or application that initially they are submitting, that just, for you is a red flag and you are not considering or reviewing the rest of the documents when you are looking at those ones? Is it founder business misfit, or are they some templated narratives?
Yeah, again, coming at it from the perspective of what we do as investors and angel investors, really look at new opportunities. And one of the most important things they consider is the team.
Mhm.
The idea is there's lots of good ideas out there that if the team can't execute on them and bring them to market, they're going to fail. So, really critical part of what we want to look at and get to know and meet and talk to are the founders. How do they work together? How does their life experience, their education fit? There are certain people that are more entrepreneurial than other. And it's a tough road being an entrepreneur, especially in a new country. I frankly, I give a lot of credit to these people. I'd have a hard time moving somewhere and being an entrepreneur, although I've been one all my life. But so the team is a critical aspect from our perspective of the likelihood of success of the company. And that's what we're all about. We want these companies to be successful in Canada. That's the way we approach due diligence, and that's the way we approach our program with them if we bring them in under our program.
Perfect. And like maybe that's the final question on this section. I want to ask, how can designated organization and immigration professional co-create a single source of truth, a living document or evidence folder that remains consistent through the work permit and permanent residency stages?
Well, as we all know, unfortunately, those stages have stretched dramatically. But what we have always done at Roseview is we have always stayed with our client from the day they get issued a letter of support at the beginning of their process with us until they get their decision on PR from the Government of Canada. So we're not a 3-month program. We're not a 6-month program. We're not a 1-year program. We're a with you for life kind of program. And that allows us to have regular meetings with all of our clients at intervals so that we're always aware of what's going on.
Mhm.
And we always see this process as a 2-track process. They're on the business track with us, and they're on an immigration track. And those 2 tracks are going to the same place, and sometimes they cross, but we need to be aware of what's happening on both sides. So we stay in touch with them. We like to work with their immigration consultants or their business advisors and be aware everything that's going on. 2 and 3 years is a long time in the life of a startup. Many things change. We want to be aware of those things. So when IRC reaches out to us, as they do from time to time, and asks us for an update, we can tell you virtually any day of the week where every one of our clients are in their journey to success.
Yeah, that's a great point because we had one session, and for preparing that session, this is also what we are doing constantly, that we are getting the latest report from IRCC, making sure that what is the percentage of rejection, approval, and trying to analyze them to understand what's happening and making sure that our clients are successful. One of the main reasons for the rejection from the designated organization was because of designated organization, and how it was by not being responsive to IRCC requests. So when they were requesting for an update, they didn't have any update, or in some cases, it seems that they haven't sent any report, or they haven't communicated with the startup teams even to ask them for that update. And that led to rejection of the permanent residency and a startup visa files. So I think what you are mentioning is really important, how responsive the designated organization is. And one of your ways of doing it, you're saying that is having that consistent just communication with the startup teams, being engaged with them, making sure that you have the updates from both sides. I think this is really important for this success of the startup teams. So let's run our second poll and ask our audience, have your clients passed the structured due diligence, designated organization diligence on the first try? Yes, no, mix, and not applicable. We will wait again another 20 to 30 seconds here, but I wanted to ask you one question. When you are reviewing the applications that are getting submitted, not the application form, that one usually is some form of questions and it's a pitch deck. But when you're going through that first review and you notice some red flag, are you going to continue or communicate with them? Do they have a chance to just provide more information to you, or when they go to the no piles, it's no pile and you are not going to change it?
Well, again, it depends. We try to give everyone the benefit of the doubt, and we're trying to find and make successful companies.
Mhm.
So we're all entrepreneurs. We all know how hard it is. So we try very hard to make it. There's some that are just obviously not suited for the program, and people are trying to apply. But we will talk to them. We will discuss with them and suggest that maybe they need a little more time, maybe they
Sure.
need a little more information, maybe they need a little more demonstration of traction or funding. So we'll give them some advice as to why we might say no to the ones that are just fall a little short. But frankly, we don't have time to respond to every single one of them in
Yeah.
any detail. We simply
And
say,
I,
I'm sorry, you don't meet the criteria.
yeah, that's perfect. And it makes sense. If you want to have that back and forth 10 times with them that, okay, submit this or that, that is going to take so much time from your
Yeah.
side. So let's review the results together. It seems 33% said yes,
Ooh.
they pass it on the first try, which is good. No one had no. No one, it means that was requested for the second round of the changes. 47% mixed and 20% not applicable. Okay, so what do you think about the result? Was it expected from your side?
I'm a little surprised, actually. I would have thought there would have been some that would have said no on the first go, and that
Yeah,
would have
they
been
said
it.
mix. I believe that mix was covering maybe no as well, but
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah.
Um, we are going to an important part that we had several people that ask us and teams and immigration professionals. And they are asking many founders operate from abroad long before they land in Canada. Mike,
Yeah.
what are the most effective remote traction proofs that you have seen? Things like, is it paid pilot? Is it letter of intent? Is it lease agreement or hiring people? Or just, integration demos? What are those like proofs that somehow is really a strong and they can use it before they move to Canada?
Yeah, I guess probably one of the things is demonstrated traction in their home market.
Mhm.
So, we, as I said, most of the companies we're seeing and the applications we're seeing now are a little more mature. They're well past the ideation stage. They're into having a product or service in the marketplace, maybe in a pilot or test at home, and they feel that they can bring it to Canada and launch it here. So we want to see what kind of traction they've had at home with companies, what sort of information they've earned. So that's a critical barometer for us in terms of that. Some of the companies and applications we see recently are they have a member of the team in Canada already. That's also tremendously helpful because they have a feet on the ground, if you will, someone who has already perhaps started to talk to companies. They've developed letters of intent. We want to see those letters. We want to understand what exactly they're pitching. So any evidence, hard evidence, that they can give us of traction for the business is really, really critical when we look at them, and we understand how difficult that is. We appreciate it. I mean, that the nature of the program makes that one of the biggest challenges. So if you can do it at home and bring that, and then we'll figure out how to transfer it to make it successful here.
Okay, that's perfect. And I had just you reminded me one concern from one of our startup teams. They made everything. They made the application. They tested there, and everything was successful. Then they were asking me one day that like, should we submit all of those traction to the designated organization and IRCC? And I said, yes, of course, it's just, good for you. They said, if we are submitting everything and then we have clients, we have revenue, then IRCC would be concerned that, okay, why do we need you here? So you
Mm.
already are doing this. And I said that, yes, but maybe you were able to achieve 10 times more if you were inside Canada. And then now you are not bringing that income and benefits to Canada. You are just doing it for the country that you are living. But if you move to Canada, Canada will be benefited from those ones without having the doubt that are you going to be successful? Is this idea good for Canada or not? I think sometimes they have not only on presenting enough traction, they have more traction than just the maybe IRCC expectation. So when,
Uh,
yeah,
yeah, let's just quickly, let's remember there's only three criteria for companies under the IRCC program, and one of them is to be global.
yeah,
So I would argue to IRCC that in fact these are exactly who you want. You want them to come to Canada. They already have an established market back home. They want to expand in Canada and then expand around the globe. We're all talking about changing our trade patterns, moving away from a reliance on the US, then we should be tapping into all these international entrepreneurs with their markets in Vietnam or Iran or China, bringing them to Canada because that will expand our trade back out to those markets. This is a huge advantage of the SUV program that really isn't talked enough about, is these networks that all these applicants bring to Canada.
Yeah, exactly. That's well said and true. And when founders face banking or incorporation barriers, so I think this is something that you have noticed as well, that IRCC is expecting to see the tax filing and seeing the investment in the Canadian bank account, while they cannot even open the bank account while they are not inside Canada, or their work permit is getting rejected. So in the business plan, usually they mention that they will make some initial investment in the company, and that's the intention. They are doing it, investing money to develop the idea and doing the rest of the things. But how they can show this to IRCC when they are not even able to open the bank account without being in Canada?
Huge frustration. Huge frustration for our clients and for us. We have very successful people, companies, and business that are selling products and services to Canadians, but because they can't open a bank account, they haven't been able to figure out a way to get paid. These are companies that are creating work, they're going to pay taxes, they're generating income in Canada, and because of the system, IRCC's slowness in issuing work permits and other things, they can't go into business. This is ridiculous. It's like a person standing outside their shop with the doors locked and they can't get in to go into business. So it is a frustration. We have not found a simple solution. The Canadian banks are very heavily regulated to control who can open and close bank accounts. Probably the best option is if they have a lawyer or a trusted advisor, a family member who is already in Canada, who can serve in that role for them to open the bank account and maybe help them with incorporation. Those are really the only ways we've found around it. We have not been able to find any bank that will fully cooperate and do what our people really need.
Okay. Yeah, perfect. That's the same from our side. Now we are trying new ways, and I want to just give this news to our audience that in the future webinars, we may have one guest from a banking system in Canada that now we are not still sure. They told us that they have a solution for this.
Oh,
But after, yeah, finalizing this, we will have them invited as our guests, and they will explain the process. Because I think this is one of, as you have mentioned, frustration for the startup teams, for immigration professionals. It's hard to show when we don't have, when you want these documents and you are not showing the how to just, make them happen. That's a really big challenge. So we will go to the final section of today's discussion, which is evidence blueprint. And let's close the discussion by walking through a full evidence blueprint, phase by phase, that consultants can model. We can just, you start, and then also if something came to my mind, also I can add to that one. But let's just start with phase A, which is pre-LOS. What are the things that you think it's need? You already have mentioned this two
right.
times. Yeah, what are the documents? And this is a stage that is fit and feasibility, like is founder business fit, is market notes, it's early signals, how strong the idea is, and how suitable for Canadian market is. You have mentioned about that financial document and a couple of other documents that in the beginning and this stage pre-LOS you will consider them. And is there any other thing for the phase A that you want to add?
Yeah, there's two things. I mean, I mentioned a moment ago, there are really only three criteria under the program SUV uses for the applicants. Innovation, global, we touched on that, and hire Canadians. And often people are unable to demonstrate why their product or service is particularly innovative in the Canadian context.
Okay.
Some people come to us, and actually, I see this more frequently among young tech founders who come up with brilliant ideas and say, well, no one else in the world is doing what I'm doing. And whenever anyone says that to me, I say, well, there's probably a reason because
Yes.
nobody either needs it or wants it. You will have competition. You need to be innovative. Can you do something in a slightly different way or with a different focus? Of course, many people are now using AI to work that into their systems, and we'll see how all that plays out. But the other third item on that list is hiring Canadians.
Mhm.
And more IRCC is looking for a hiring plan. Often when they talk to our applicants down the road, going through the process of work permits and PR, they'll say, so show us your hiring plan. And if there's not something in the original business plan that talks about it in the future, and sometimes our clients get scared and say, well, Mike, I can't afford to hire employees when I first get there. That's not what it's about. It's about laying out a plan like you would in your milestones in your business and saying, well, in this year, I'm going to need to hire a developer, or I want to hire a saleswoman, or I want to hire this or that, or maybe it's just I need to get legal advice in Canada. But they need to have a business plan that includes a staffing plan. And for a lot of our applicants early on, that was a gap that needs to be addressed.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And for phase two or phase B, I would say is post LOS, which they have to demonstrate credibility, like incorporation document, cap table, product roadmap. Is there anything else that you want to add for this stage?
Well, I mean, I think our clients are getting asked in the letters that we're seeing from IRCC, they're getting pretty deep into the weeds on some of this stuff, and they're asking about, well, tell us who you've talked to.
Mm,
Uh, Show us who you've gone out and marketed to. Now, some of these things are very difficult because if they don't have access to the Canadian market, it's virtually
I
impossible to do.
agree.
However, they are looking for any way they can, whether they virtually attend conferences or trade shows, whether they demonstrate that they are making every effort they can from wherever they are to reach to their market and interact with the market and get feedback from the market. So that is really a demonstration of the commitment of the people to the program. One of the other things that happens, and it's a little bit of an aside here, is around the money and funding. We require all of our companies to demonstrate to us that they have sufficient funds to finance the business through its early stages. But we don't say to them, you have to put all $250,000 in the bank on day one. But they want to see, and the government wants to see a progress like you would of any business. Well, we had to put a little bit more money in because we spent it on this and marketing and we did a new website and so on. So they want to see a logical progression of business activities, both in spending and in marketing, product development, that really demonstrates that this group is committed to doing this and is moving forward.
Okay, no, that's perfect. And the phase after, I would say, is work permit stage. If any groups is applying for the work permit and they want to see that operating signals like Canadian banking, vendor contract, as you have mentioned, some KPIs that they are achieving. Before going to this stage, or even at this stage, I want to ask you a question that it's a common question from our clients or from also our audience. They want to know if they have, yes, submitted a hiring plan that we will hire this number of people on the year one, year two, year three. But since the work permit was rejected, which is, that now most of the cases, IRCC is rejecting the work permit, sometimes without any reason. But when they are rejecting the work permits and the just main and key people are not in Canada, they prefer not to hire full-time employees in Canada.
Mhm.
They are here. Instead, for the progress, they are working with some resources in the country that they are living, or with some contractors from different places in the world. Is that going to be helpful for the traction to show that, or no, IRCC only is concerned if the contractors are within Canada, if that money has been spent in Canada? Or do you think even for you as a designated organization, if you see that they hire some contractor and from that initial investment they pay to the contractor, still is a good sign for you?
Yeah, I mean, it would be great if they could do that. I think that maybe instead of attaching dates to some of these things, they should be milestone based.
Mhm.
Hirings would be a milestone because, as you say, exactly right, IRCC, by denying work permits, is causing the process to be stretched out dramatically.
Yeah.
It's not the fault of the applicant that as of September of 2025, they didn't hire this person. They wanted to, but because they couldn't get the work permit, they didn't. So I would structure hiring plans around milestones, okay,
Okay.
not hard dates. And then in terms of what you said about IRCC, sure, it's great and it's important that if they can hire someone in Canada, but let's be frank, many Canadian companies hire people overseas, particularly on development and other issues around tech companies, because it's so much cheaper.
Super.
So
Yeah.
why should the people overseas have to hire high-end, expensive Canadian developers to
While
do
they are not
the
here.
other way around? Yeah. So I think there are explanations for this. One of the problems, of course, is IRCC. Many of their employees don't understand business and don't understand entrepreneurship and what it's involved in. And so that sometimes causes confusion. I want to tell you a quick story about work permits. We had a client refused a work permit because the IRC said to them, well, we don't think if we give you a work permit, we don't think you'll go home.
No,
That's
I
the
should
whole
tell you
purpose
that
of
we
the
had a couple of
program,
these items,
is
not
to
only
have
one.
people come here. Yeah, to have people come here and stay here and build businesses. So this sometimes just makes no sense what we see.
No, they apply. The fact is that they apply for permanent residency before applying and submitting their work permit. So of course they want to stay in Canada. What is
Yeah.
this argument even? What is about? I think they sometimes maybe they are new hire that they don't understand the difference between a startup with a work permit and a regular work permit,
I think you're right.
general work permit. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a funny story. We have seen. You saw it one time only. I saw it so many times in our recently since last year for our clients.
Yeah.
And let's say go to the phase D, which is PR stage, sustained traction, and having this financial update or board minutes, discussion with the early adopters, early clients, having those letter of intent from them. Is there anything else at this stage that you would recommend to add to the list?
Well, I mean, one of the things along the way that IRCC is going to ask for, way back at the beginning, when we talk about financials, we talk about a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
IRCC during the process, whether it's at that point or before, are going to want to see a longer. They like to see a 6-month look at people's financials. And of course, they're interested in more than just what's going to the company. They're interested in settlement funds and others. So that is an important consideration for people, that they be prepared to share with the banking information to the government. And I agree with your earlier comment. We have seen letters where IRCC is now demanding within 14 days updates on many different documents. So we encourage our applicants and their consultants to be proactive. Make sure that your police checks are up to date. Make sure your English language things are up to date, your health, your travel. Keep track of that stuff, because they're going to ask you these questions. And if you're unable to provide fulsome answers in the period they prescribe, then they can just throw you out. And so stay on top of this stuff, be proactive, keep up to date on all these things, and work with your designated organization. We'll work with you to provide information as well about how the client is doing in the program. Are they attending all the sessions? Have they done their research? Are they building their product? We can provide all that business information.
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's a great suggestion on somehow closing the whole thing. I would add only one note for the last phase, which is landing, and that one is continuity. Just showing the employer accounts, hiring new people, payroll, maybe provincial registration, or if the business requires a specific license or permits. I think these are the next one that they have to show within that time frame. I want to go through the another poll and ask our audience which phase is your current bottleneck? Is it pre-LOS, post-LOS, work permit, PR, or landing?
Hmm.
Well, I don't know why we don't have all of them. I think that should be answered.
Well, I guess if you can't get through one, you're not going to get to the others. So.
Yeah, exactly. So let's review the results together. Or is it quick? Okay, we will wait a few. I can say that in backstage they are showing me that this time you were so quick in seeing the results. So we will give them a few more seconds to vote. And now it's good. Okay, perfect. So pre-LOS 27%. That's interesting. I was not expecting that. Post
Mm.
LOS 18%, work permit 36%. I was expecting the highest in the work permit as well, because it's harder when they are here. The expectation is higher as well, right, from IRCC. So PR 0%. I think no one received PR so far, so they don't have any comment here. And
Oh,
for
no, that's not
10,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying that's like, now is 60 months. Like it's 5 years.
Well, I mean, we talked to IRCC about that, and they explained to us sort of that's fun with figures. They took a very short snapshot in time and said, how many did we process in the last 6 months or whatever, at what rate? And then if we take a look at what's in the backlog, how long will it take us, plus what's being added to
Yeah.
clear everybody? And they came up with this 5-year figure. Well, that I think we
Wow.
all realize that's ridiculous. There will be a decision from the government, one way or the other, about the SUV program that will dramatically impact on the backlog and going forward. We know that before November 1st, the government has to announce its new targets for immigration.
Yeah.
We are strongly encouraging through our small voice that the government understand the importance of entrepreneurial immigration, bringing in the people that create the jobs and build the wealth that this company needs. And so that's our push. And I would hope that everyone on this phone call would echo that so that we can save this great program and build our country.
Exactly, exactly. That's true. Thank you so much. Now, we will open the floors for the questions of our audience. Please post them in the Q&A panel. I will direct them to Mike. And to begin with, we will start with the questions that they have been submitted at the time of registrations. So the first question is, what is Roseview process for selecting a startup visa teams and issuing letter of support? I think you well defined what is the full process from your side. The only part that I think you haven't answered is when or at what stage the LOS will be issued. Is it after finishing the training or no?
No, we issue our LOS right up front.
Okay,
So
perfect.
once you've gone through our process and we've accepted you into the program, we want to get you going right away, and we issue your letter of support as quickly as we can, working in cooperation with you and your immigration advisor. We have to have all that documentation put together
Perfect.
for our commitment certificate, but we do issue it up front.
That's great. And how to protect and enhance the SUV program? You just mentioned at the end that, like, everyone, they should maybe comment or just, raising the voice of Canada needs entrepreneurs, Canada needs this just, innovative ideas and all of those ones. But and one of the way to keep this program continue and just running is making sure that we are not misusing the program only for the just good of ourselves. It's just looking at the broader stage and the country and Canada's benefit. I would answer that just bringing real teams, real people, and making sure that they are making some progress. But now, if you can
Yeah.
also, if you have any comments to answer this question,
I
yeah.
agree completely. I mean, it's important for us who are active in this program and who understand the value of it to speak up and protect it. This is a program, in my opinion, about entrepreneurship and building our country. I think that if you have the opportunity to speak to your local MP or any IRCC official, I think really it's a political decision at this point. You want to talk about building the country's wealth. You want to talk about entrepreneurs. And there are lots and lots of examples of Canadians, first generation Canadians, who have come and built great companies in this country. And we know from studies that first generation Canadians are more entrepreneurial than those of us who were born here. So this is exactly what we need. Don't talk about it as an immigration program. Talk about it as an economic development program.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. And have you noticed or felt that recently IRCC is using AI in making decisions? That's the other question that they have asked.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think IRCC is like a lot of big organizations. I mean, they have huge backlogs. I mean, our little program, as much as we think it's important, is just a little speck in the big immigration world. and they are trying all sorts of new technology to move decisions forward. And some of that technology comes out with crazy decisions like we've talked about before here today. So I would expect that at some level, they are going to be employing AI in the process if they aren't already.
Yeah, perfect. And next one is, what is the impact of the incubation program on the PR results? I have seen some incubators not providing the incubation program. Does it make any risk for my PR application?
Oh, that's a good question. That maybe is a better question for you. You're the one with the masterful grasp on all of the information out of IRCC and
Mhm.
which designated organizations are more successful. I can only share our experience. All of our, not one of our companies has been rejected. That's maybe, I think, because we are very serious about what we do and because we stay with them until they get their PR. So we were a business incubator long before we got into being a startup visa participant, and we really thrive on building successful companies. They just happen to be international. So personally, I think it can be tremendously helpful, but it varies from designated organization to designated organization.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. We have discussed that. What is the role on the previous webinars? What is the role of designated organization on the success of a startup team and the result of the permanent residency? I think having this training and showing that the team members are willing to learn and just, adopt, learn about the culture, about tax, about those legal requirements in Canada, those trainings somehow is demonstrating that part, which is helpful for IRCC to distinguish between the real team or the just legitimate teams or the ones that are not legitimate. So yes, if the designated organization, of course, like you, is going to really help them and empower them, that's great benefit for the success of the teams. And not only for the permanent residency, but also for the success of, I think, a startup in Canada as well. We have received several other, and that the good news is that we still have time. Okay. Other questions. I have seen recently IRCC has rejected some applications just because of operation outside of Canada. Well, I haven't seen this.
Hmm.
To me, some clients are outside Canada and cannot operate here. How we can help them in this situation? I think,
I mean, I kind of made the argument earlier that it's a
yeah.
good thing. Global reach is an important criteria under this program, and it's important that our clients and these applicants bring external markets with them when they come to Canada. Uh, the Canadian government spends billions of dollars trying to encourage Canadian domestic businesses to sell overseas. Well, if you come to me and you tell me, I already sell overseas, Mike, I just want to set up here in Canada, then I go, that's a winner. So we need to explain to the government and make the point that this is exactly what we need, is we need these new businesses to do this.
Yeah, exactly. Next question is, does hiring or agreement with a business consulting organization and incorporation lawyer shows Canadian hiring and investment? I would just rephrase this question. I think the question is that if they have a hiring plan, and I asked this earlier in our discussion, that they have hiring plan, but they are not still in Canada. Uh, they sign an agreement with the business consulting firm to take care of some of those progress and activities while they are outside of Canada for them. Is this going to be helpful from your side to see the progress that, okay, they made this specific progress and still is good for Canada, although they haven't hired someone full time, but at least they paid to a Canadian firm and they can somehow contribute to Canada's economy. So, do you think that this is going to be helpful?
I do. I
Okay.
think it demonstrates that they are committed to trying to make the company a success. And even if they have to go sort of in a roundabout way through other people to do it, as opposed to themselves directly, it just sends in my mind a strong signal of their commitment to the process.
Mhm. Okay, that's perfect. And as an incubator, how are you managing the limit of 10 groups that can be supported per designated organization? What is your intake process cycle? I think you already explained about
Yeah.
your process, but this part is a good part that is asking that talking to different designated organizations, some of them they are saying that we are just giving and that's 10 LOS in the first quarter or on the first 6 months. Or they are saying every season we have one opening, reviewing the applications that we receive and making decision or dividing equally in different season. So how does that process is at Roseview?
Yeah, we move forward and we take applications as they come. So
Okay.
chances are, I mean, 2025, our cap is full. 2026, chances are that our cap will be filled before June. It's
Okay.
just because of deal flow. And people want to get in early. I don't think it's fair to people to say, well, we'll wait and give you your LOS in September. And then it just adds more months to their wait.
Yeah.
So no, we move forward and we'll fill our cap number in the first half of 2026.
So I would say that if you are ready and you have everything in place, don't wait
Yeah.
till just, another 6 months, another 9 months to something happen. The whole process is time consuming. Designated organization, they have their own processing and also due diligence, which is taking also time, although they want to be quick, but still it will be a few weeks from their side also to go through everything and preparing that commitment certificate. So if you are ready, don't wait further and just apply right away for the right designated organization. Or if you know that, as Mike have mentioned, they are done with the 2025 spots, but now they are taking and considering the startup teams for 2026. So for also 2026, if you are talking with some designated organization and they are saying that we are full, you are great, but we are full, you can apply even now for the 2026, making sure that you are receiving your letter of support on January, for example, sooner.
And in fact, we are doing that. We are looking at that right now.
Perfect, that's great. And next one is, what are your thoughts on SUV business groups that get business proposal written by third-party companies? This is one of the major weaknesses of SUV applications submitted to IRCC. Copy-paste
Yeah.
templates, vague. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand to a degree if I grew up in a different country and I need some help with the formatting or the presentation of a business plan and a pitch deck, things that I'm not familiar with and how it's done in North America. And I understand that. But the
Okay.
idea has to originate with the founders. We can't have people buying business plans off the shelf and then pretending they know all about it. It's not going to work. Hopefully, we weed them out in our due diligence process because we ask them questions. And if they can't answer them, then it's obvious it's not their idea. But having someone present your ideas and organize them in a structured, formal way that makes it easy for us to look at them, that's fine. We get that. And that's happening more and more. So I don't have a problem with it as long as the founding team are the core people who have the idea and are behind it.
Perfect. So we are almost out of time. So do you have any points, Mike, that you want to add at the end?
I mean, I would encourage us all watch what's going to happen just before the 1st of November to see what's going to happen with the program. But I think we who are active in the program and see the value of it need to support it. We need to, as you say, ensure that there are good applications. If there are good applications that meet the terms of the program and benefit Canada, then there's reason to do it. Our conversations with IRCC and at the political level suggest they want to do business immigration. They just are trying to figure out how to do it in such a way that achieves the goals they have in mind. So we need to help them do that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mike. And thanks once again for sharing your expertise and for helping us understanding what happens after the letter of support. To everyone attending, thank you for joining and for making the Startup Gateway community so active. Before you leave, please fill out the feedback form that appears at the end. Follow GenesisLink on LinkedIn for future sessions and resources and key points from different webinar sessions that we have. If you would like to collaborate or have case-specific questions, reach out to our team and we would love to connect with you and answer your questions. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you at the next Startup Gateway webinar. Have a great day. Thank you, Mike, again.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you. Bye.